back, everybody. Thanks for checking into McNulty's Book Corral. Today I'm going to be talking about Jack Vance, a great science fiction writer who was born in 1916 and died in 2013, just a few years ago. He is well represented in this overcrowded, dusty library of mine. I consider Jack Vance one of the greats, along with Jack Williamson, James Gunn, Arthur C. Clarke, Isaac Asimov, Robert A. Heinlein, and so many others from the Golden Age. I'm going to be talking about the appeal of Jack Vance to me today, and perhaps he'll appeal to you. Good news, he is in print. Although I have a lot of vintage paperbacks. I want to start with talking about his appeal. And when you're talking about his appeal, here's an old Ace paperback. It's called Big Planet. Most of you vintage paperback collectors are quite familiar with this. And this is a 1957 reissue of a 1952 book. I'm going to read the back to you, because the back of this book, and this is a really good book, it's kind of a standalone. You can read this and you can understand the appeal of Jack Vance. So it's a good old-fashioned travel among wonders yarn, in which a small group of Earthlings crash on a planet overrun centuries before by assorted dissidents who have set up galaxy's oddest assortment of splinter societies. Right there alone, you get a very, very common element in the works of Jack Vance. They set out to make a 40,000-mile trek across the unknown face of the planet, beset by monsters, natives, and each other. Again, driving it home, what's going on with that culture that's been created right now. It's good fun all through in the wacky society and blah, blah, blah. So this is the type of element you're going to get with Jack Vance. Big Planet's a really good book, easy to find. So with Jack Vance, we have these common elements, the best of science fiction, whether it be Jack Vance or Jack Williamson or Isaac Asimov, certainly Isaac Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke and Robert A. Heinlein. We have a clarity of vision, and we have the world building of complex societies that are not necessarily unlike our own. We recognize them when we see them, because we have the same problems in the future that we have today. And that's not speculative. That's based on history. The same problems will always exist. So we have a cultural assessment. The best of science fiction is often social satire. It's often, if it's not satirical, it's often cultural anthropology and social criticism. Talking about the autocratic societies that are controlling the population. You get those elements very strongly in Jack Vance, but with some slight differences. So his world building is good. His societies, Jack Vance's societies, are again not unlike our own, but we have every type of character. We have aliens, we have mutants, we have scientists, we have dissidents, as I just mentioned. We have creative people. There's a lot of creative people involved in Jack Vance's marvelous books. He's very much in tune with the creative arts. Reading, writing, painting, sculpture, film, whatever it is, he knows what that's about and how that relates to a society. It's the twist he puts on it that makes it appealing to all of us. So we have a couple of books I'll recommend in addition to Big Planet. These are all easily found. We have The Dragon Masters, and this is, what was this? This was 60, I believe this was 67. No, I'm sorry, it was 62. The Dragon Masters was 62. This is a pretty good book. Now, this is an Ace double. So flip it over and you have Jack Vance. I love Ace doubles. I've done episodes about Ace doubles. Ace doubles are fun. The 5 Gold Bands. They're both great books. I prefer The Dragon Masters. And find this and read it. And if you like it, you'll like Jack Vance. I think that's pretty easy to say. Then we have another Ace double, but only one of them is Jack Vance, and that would be The Last Castle. This is 67. And this is an excellent book as well. So if you find these, I would recommend reading them. This is one I've read 3 times now. I read it when I got it years and years ago. Yes, I am that old. And I recently read it again just for fun. I'm not going to go into the plot on this one because I have two other series that I want to recommend. And the ace double on this one is not a Vance. It's Tony Russell Wayman, World of the Sleeper, which I recall as being a good book. I haven't reread it recently, so don't hold me to that one. All right, my favorite Jack Vance series is called The Demon Prince's Novels, The Demon Princes. And I have the DAW editions. Now, those of you that have watched for some time are familiar that I collect DAW. So you'll get the DAW label at the top with the number. The first of the Demon Prince's novels was The Star King, and it was number 305 in DAW. DAW books are notable for there used to be yellow spines. This one's kind of faded. And your yellow logo up here with the number of the book. So this is DAW Books, DAW Science Fiction 305. And it's great. So that's the first one. I'm going to explain the series in a moment. The second one of the Demon Prince's novels was The Killing Machine. It's DAW 309. And this series, this is a great series to dig into if you want to read a science fiction series that you have not looked at before. I recommend the Demon Prince's novels. There are 5 of them total. Number 3 was number 325. I have a feeling this came out in 1967, and I'll bet it did. I have to check. I'm such a nerd about the 60s. Yes, this is 1967, and it was a DAW book. So then the 4th is The Face, which is DAW number 361, and then the final and 5th was much later. It took him a while to put the 5th book out, which is DAW number 416, The Book of Dreams. And this is a little longer. So these 5 books, all right, let's talk about these 5 books. What we get with these 5 books is really a fascinating approach to building a series, but it's not uncommon, and it's certainly not necessarily unique, even though his style is much different. Again, Jack Vance does not write space opera. It's not Flash Gordon against Ming the Merciless. It is his character, in this case, Kurth Gerson, against five evil men. So the plot setup is simple. He wants to track down these 5 demon princes, as they're called. They are intergalactic crime lords, basically, on different planets. And he wants to take them down because they had destroyed his family. Part of an initiative, a criminal initiative to destroy the family. So he has made a vow for himself. He set a goal for himself. It is a vengeance tale. And so I'm saying it's not like space opera because it's so differently rendered. It's not necessarily action-packed. It's more cerebral. And I'll explain that in a minute. But we have the 5 demon princes are Atel Malagate in the first book. These are in order of the books. Kokor Hekis, and I'm pronouncing these the way they're spelled. So phonetically, I'm probably getting it wrong. Viole Feluche, I believe, and Lenz Lark, and Howard Allen Treesong is the 5th. And his job in each book is to hunt them down and destroy them. Spoiler alert, you can guess how that plays out. Okay? That part is traditional. What's not traditional is the socio-economic cultural rendering. Jack Vance was very much interested in the way a society was set up. Sometimes they're set up at autocratic societies with evil men, in charge. All 5 of these guys would fit into that, but there are different aspects of it. And the conflict is traditional, but the telling of the tale is non-traditional. He uses his mind to infiltrate the societies where these overlords are, these criminal empires are stationed on these different planets, and he learns about the society so he can get close to these men so he can destroy them. And that's the basic setup. What happens with these books is the level of detail, the level of thought that goes into it for him to basically it becomes a quest. This is a quest tale to to work undercover, understand these societies so he can get close to his enemy and destroy him. It sounds simple, but when you read it, it's not, because we're talking about alien cultures that are clearly a mirror of world cultures here on Earth. That's not explicitly stated. That's my interpretation of it. And, so the autocratic societies is a defining conflict in my estimation, but he doesn't say it in those terms. Again, he uses the positive rendering of the creative arts throughout all of these books. In all of his novels, most of them, not every single one, have a rendering of that. There are artists and artistic people involved in various aspects of the culture that he understands very well. There are elements of medieval historical conflicts here, which again, when we study history, if you're studying medieval history, you're going to get that type of thing. We have some sword fighting here instead of ray guns, right? And you're going to get that type of thing. You have the Palace of Love. Obviously, the 1960s, we're talking about some of the social attitudes towards sex come into play here. This, with Robert A. Heinlein, I think I mentioned in a previous episode, that is constant. That's a constant thing. Not necessarily because of the 60s, because of Robert A. Heinlein was interested in the cultural differences between men and women and how they relate to each other in different cultures. Again, you get that same thing here, with Jack Vance. And again, we have, love the cover on this one, because we have a man with a sword and a guy with a ray gun. So you get this clash of cultures that tells the tale. The action scenes in these books are good, but they're not predominant. He doesn't write long, drawn-out action scenes, at least in these 5 novels. They're there. They exist very well. It's everything else combined. His writing, what I call clarity of vision. He has a compact, unified style to set up his page, to drive that narrative along, and it works perfectly. I really like Jack Vance. Can you tell? I hope you can. It's with these 5 books in the Demon Princes series, they're wildly different cultures, wildly different, and therein lies part of the appeal. What's this guy that he's after? What is his world like? And how is he going to get through this world to accomplish his goal of vengeance? And that's what this is. This is a vengeance tale, but it's not told with a lot of the traditional space opera stuff. It's there. Let me assure you, those elements are there and they will please you, but he has a slightly different style. I don't know if Jack Vance, I don't know if I can relate Jack Vance to any other writer. I mean, probably Robert A. Heinlein is the closest that I think when you're talking about a rendering of a society that you get with Jack Vance. But Jack Williamson, who I have yet to discuss, is certainly part of that. Isaac Asimov is certainly a part of that. Again, science fiction works at its best when it's social commentary. And when you have social commentary, you can relate it to what's happening today, and you will understand it. This is the great benefit of classic science fiction writing. It was often intentionally done as a rendering of what those authors perceived in our culture and our governments as, let's say, less than appealing elements. There's always a danger with an autocratic, totalitarian society, as we well know today, don't we? So today it's relevant, is what I'm telling you. Okay, I'm not making necessarily a political statement about any political group, but it's relevant today because we have those elements that clearly exist in the American government today, for better or worse. Sometimes that can benefit society. Jack Vance discusses that occasionally too. There are elements in these societies that are quite appealing and useful, and then there are the other side. So you get a little mixture here. Okay, that's a big ramble. Before we sign off, these books, the Demon Prince series, these 5 books are available in 2 volumes. You can find it on Amazon. I am not being paid by Amazon. I am not a monetized channel. I'm saying it as a tip. If you're interested, you can get all 5 of these in 2 volumes. on Amazon, and they look like this. This is a different series, Planet of Adventure, and this is published by Orb, and we have 4 of his novels here, 2 of which I own in paperback, and the other 2 I don't, so I bought this to reread it. And I'm going to try and pronounce these titles, because Jack Vance was one of those that made up words. City of the Cache, C-H-A-S-C-H, Cache, I would say it's Cache. Servants of the Wankh, W-A-N-K-H. Perhaps you pronounce it Wan, I don't know. The Dirter or Dider, I don't know. And then the Noom. So you have 4 of these novels here. I'm sorry, I probably mangled the living hell out of these titles. Science fiction writers during this period would make up names for everything, and they were phonetically difficult to pronounce unless the author is sitting next to you telling you, I pronounce it this way. I didn't look any of this up, so I just fumbled through it. You can look it up yourself and let me know what you think. 4 great books, by the way. This is my other favorite series of his, when I finally got to read these 4 in order. So good material. That, my friends, is a little bit of Jack Vance, and I can see from the clock there I rambled on a little longer than I intended to. So, you have your mission is before you. You are going to travel to distant planets with Jack Vance, and you are going to involve yourselves in really fun books, and you're going to continue to stay well, to stay happy, to feed your beautiful minds. Read a book.